Hello, I'm here at Crumbs and Doilies HQ, and do you guys want to know how to make the perfect thick vanilla milkshake but you're not quite sure about the ice cream to milk ratio? Well, I feel your pain, and I've done a lot of research, and I mean a lot, and I have come up with a recipe for the ultimate milkshake with the perfect balance of milk and ice cream. And once you have that down, the world is your oyster, and you can pimp this milkshake up a million times over, and I'm going to give you 3 ideas to get you going. Now, before we get on with our crazy pimped up milkshakes, you're going to need to start with the basics, and I'm just going to do a basic vanilla milkshake. But to start with, I'm going to talk about the things that we need: milk, ice cream, and the tool. So the milk is quite important. I always use whole milk. Seeing as you're making a really naughty milkshake, there isn't much point in using skimmed milk or fat-free milk because, well, you've just put a load of ice cream in it. So always use whole milk. It's creamier, and so it's just better. The next thing is, of course, ice cream. You can't make a thick shake without it. And of course, there's thousands upon thousands of different ice creams that you can use, and you can get into flavoured ice creams if you really want to jazz things up, but I'm going to keep mine really simple. The main thing to look out for is to not go for like a soft scoop or soft serve ice cream, because that just melts a bit too quickly and it has a weird texture because of all the kind of emulsifiers in it. Always try and look for the most natural ice cream possible, and one that sets quite firm. We'll just keep that in the freezer until we need it. Next thing to talk about is the tools. Now, I'm going to be using a combination of a stick blender, which is really good. You can get hold of these fairly inexpensively, and they're really handy for loads of stuff, including milkshake. But if you do have a countertop blender, that works really, really well, especially for things where you're like crushing biscuits and putting chunky things in. That one is brilliant, but they'll both work really well. You're not going to be able to do this with a whisk, because by the time you've softened your ice cream, the ice cream's going to be melting and it's all going to be really messy. Just not going to be quick enough. You need something with electricity, unfortunately, but these guys will do. Now, before you get going, you need to make sure you've got everything you need ready to go, including putting your glasses in the fridge or the freezer just to make sure they're nice and cool so you minimise the melting danger. But I'm going to get on with it. So I have my milk and I've got my ice cream in the freezer, and I'm going to be using the stick blender for this. So getting my ice cream out. I found that the perfect amount of ice cream is about 160 to 175 grams. You know how I like my scales. I don't have an ice cream scoop, so I've just measured it on my scales. So I'm going to put that straight into my jug. And 1/3 of a cup of whole milk. Now, at this point, if you do want to add a little bit more vanilla in, then you can do that. You won't need very much, but I personally think there's enough vanilla in the ice cream as it is. So now I'm going to get on with blending. I'm going to use my stick blender. Like I said before, you can use whatever blender you have. Obviously, this one is a bit of a beast because I've got a professional kitchen and we've got loads of fancy stuff like this. But if you've just got a small countertop blender, that will work just as well. But since I'm only doing one for myself, I'm going to use my stick blender. Here goes. Now, looking for all the ice cream and the milk to blend together until you get to a smooth consistency, and once that's done, as it is now, you can pop it into your cold glass. Let's just taste it, just to make sure. A little bit of effort required, which is perfect. So now that we've mastered the vanilla milkshake, let's start pimping it. First up, I'm going to make a Malteser malted milkshake, and I'm going to start with our basic recipe. So I have my ice cream here into the blender. I'm using the big guy this time because I've got lots of Maltesers to crush. And my 1/3 of a cup of milk. That's around about 80 millilitres, in case you're wondering. And next, I'm going to put a heaped tablespoon of Horlicks or malted milk powder or Ovaltine or Milo, depending on what country you live in. And about 50 grams of Maltesers. And then it's lid on. And time to blend. That looks brilliant, so I'm going to pour that into my chilled glass. Obviously you can leave it there, but I'm just going to make things a little bit more naughty and put some whipped cream on the top. And some Maltesers. So that's my Malteser milkshake done. Really simple, and I think you'll agree, delicious. And now I'm going to show you how to make milkshake number 2, which is a chocolate fudge milkshake. And I'm going to start by putting my ice cream into my jug, along with my 1/3 of a cup of milk, Onto the chocolatey bit, and I'm going to be using chocolate sauce. This is the Mars hot fudge sauce, which I made in a previous video, and if you want to learn how to make that, then click on the link now. And I'm going to be using about a sort of heaped tablespoon of it. You can use chocolate sauce which you've bought from the shops, it's absolutely fine, just make sure it's super chocolatey. So now it's time to get blending. And that is perfect. So before I pour it into my glass, I'm just going to do one extra thing with my chocolate sauce to make it extra chocolatey. And I'm just going to get a little bit of it on my spoon and smear it around the inside of the glass. And pour your chocolate milkshake in. And I'm going to finish this one off with whipped cream as well. And a little bit more chocolate sauce. So that is my chocolate milkshake and it looks delicious. And now it's time for milkshake number 3. Milkshake number 3 is the best flavour ever, peanut butter and jelly. So start with the ice cream again. And as usual, 1/3 cup of whole milk. And I'm putting in 60 grams of peanut butter. You can use crunchy or smooth if you like. I'm going to use smooth for this one. Now blend it. And if you're wondering where the jelly comes into it, I'm going to put it in the glass now. So I'm just going to pop some raspberry goo, which I made earlier. Again, you can use raspberry syrup or something you bought from the shop. I just made this using frozen raspberries and caster sugar and just boiled it down until it was a nice kind of gooey, jammy consistency. And again, just smear it around the inside of the glass. And in with the milkshake. And I'm going to finish that off with a little drizzle of jam. So there you go, 3 ways to pimp up a delicious and thick vanilla milkshake. And now that you know how to make all that, I know you're going to come up with some really awesome flavours, so don't forget to tag me in the pictures of them using the hashtag CupcakeJam. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and don't forget I have actually got a vanilla ice cream recipe, so if you want to use homemade ice cream in your milkshake, then click on the link now. Now I can't be trusted around these milkshakes, so I'm going to need to find 3 very good friends to help me out with them. But I'll be back next week with another recipe. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed already, then you can do so by clicking on the link at the end. I'll see you next week. Bye!